Have you ever reached a point of such profound frustration with something, a tool, a vehicle, a project, that you just wanted it gone? We often discard perfectly functional things simply because we are tired of dealing with them. There's an old fable that captures this exact psychological trap, involving a tired traveler and his heavily burdened donkey. Day after day, the man walked alongside his animal. Over time, he stopped seeing a reliable mode of transport. He only saw a slow, stubborn, unremarkable creature that made his days feel infinitely longer. This graph illustrates exactly what was happening in his mind. The flat, stable line is the intrinsic value of the asset. It still works. The sharply declining line is our perceived value. As emotional fatigue sets in, the gap between the two widens. That shaded area is the perception deficit, a cognitive distortion where frustration completely blinds us to the practical utility of what we already own. Overwhelmed by that deficit, the man dragged his donkey to the local market. His only goal was subtraction. He wanted the animal out of his sight immediately. He didn't bother to negotiate or highlight the animal's strong back. When a buyer offered a mere 500 rupees, he took the coins and walked away. For a few fleeting moments, he felt weightless. The annoyance was gone, the burden was lifted, and his hands were finally empty. Rapid asset liquidation driven by emotional fatigue results in a massive loss of leverage. By prioritizing speed over value, the man accepted a fraction of what he actually owned. Now the man had a new problem. He still needed a way to carry his goods. He wandered the same market, holding his 500 rupees, but his mind was set on finding a flawless, perfect beast of burden to replace his old frustration. Then he saw it, a magnificent animal standing elevated in the center of the square. It was draped in ornate, sparkling fabrics, heavy metallic chains, and a glittering crown that entirely obscured its body. The merchant leaned into the performance, shouting about the animal's immense strength and royal lineage to fabricate a narrative of absolute perfection. When you operate from a place of discontent, you create an emotional vacuum. That empty space makes you highly susceptible to external validation and calculated storytelling. The man was entirely captivated. His desire for an upgrade completely bypassed his critical thinking. He didn't ask to see the animal work or even attempt to look under the heavy blankets. Swayed entirely by the presentation, he emptied his life savings and purchased the decorated beast for a staggering 10,000 rupees. Let's look at this chart to compare the two transactions. The short bar on the left is the 500 rupees he gained in his frustration sale. The towering bar on the right is the 10,000 rupees spent on the illusion purchase. Notice how the baseline utility, the actual physical capability, is identical. The remaining 9,500 is pure narrative. That brightly colored section is the aesthetic premium, the mathematical cost of hype. We frequently pay massive premiums for a product's presentation, even when the underlying utility remains identical to the one we just discarded. Holding the jeweled reins, the man marched home with his chest puffed out, eager to present this massive life upgrade to his wife. His wife walked out to inspect the purchase. She wasn't swayed by the glittering crown or the salesman's lingering narrative. She looked at the animal with calm, objective scrutiny. She reached out and pulled the heavy ceremonial fabrics away. Stripped of its ornate chains, the dusty, thoroughly ordinary coat beneath was exposed. The man stared in absolute shock. He recognized the markings. He recognized the posture. He had just spent his life savings to buy back his exact same donkey. This is the trap of decorated discontent. When we chronically undervalue the quiet utility of our lives, our ultimate punishment is paying an astronomical premium to buy our own lives back. The man stood paralyzed in his courtyard, the heavy weight of his financial ruin settling in as he looked at the 10,000 rupee hole in his pocket. Meanwhile, the donkey stood exactly as it always had. It was functionally identical. It didn't care if it was dismissed as a burden for 500 rupees or crowned as a prize for 10,000. This flowchart tracks a remarkably common human behavior. We experience discontent, move to hasty liquidation, make a premium purchase to fill the void, and finally hit the harsh realization that we've bought the same thing in a shiny new package. We exhaust our time and capital running in this exact circle. To break this psychological loop, insert a deliberate pause. A strict value assessment between discontent and liquidation neutralizes the emotional fatigue. Authentic progress stems from the intellectual discipline to recognize the intrinsic worth of the assets already in our